Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. It's a lovely day. The hay fever is abating. Summer and spring here, so there's lots of pollen in the air. So you have to deal with all these amazing flowers and the birds in the morning. I'll actually try if I'm up tomorrow morning early. I'll make a little recording. You can hear the birds in the morning. It is quite something to see. What I want to do here is to give you a quick overview of the cycle of life that changes everything. It is what I use for the people that I work with to find out where they are so that we can then tailor make their process for them. And it'll be interesting to know, to see for yourself where you are on the cycle. And this is the short version. There's a longer version. I think I'll put it in the comments so that you can go and look if you want to see the 44-minute version. So this is the shorter version. But let me share some screen here quickly. There you go. I have to look around my camera. There you go. So this is the cycle of life. So many things have changed in the last 3 years for so many people, and they have had a Lifequake. A Lifequake is, as you see there on the top with a triangle with a little infinity sign in the middle. Life is an expression of health, wealth, and relationships. If it is an expression of who you are, then that is fine. In other words, it is an outflow of who you are. That's the right way of doing it. But the wrong way, well, the less useful way, I know we don't use the word wrong, the less useful way is having those three, the health, the wealth, and relationship, to define you. In other words, your whole identity is shaped around your health, what you look like, your wealth, how much money you've got, and all that kind of stuff, and then your relationships. And for many people, the relationships, if you take them out of the relationship, then they lose their identity. That happens to many people. So for many people, it looks like most people in the world, this has happened where either their health went down the drain for obvious reasons, as we know. The wealth, they lost their job, they lost their business, they lost their income, and now they have a massive problem. The other part is where the relationships broke down or someone passed away, and people have put their identity in the relationship. In other words, they define themselves by that relationship. We have actually here in South Africa, I don't know in other countries, but in many years ago, we would talk about Mrs. Pastor and Mrs. Psychologist and Mrs. Doctor. So the woman would be identified by her husband's job or her husband's status. So if that husband either left or died or something like that, then they lose their identity. And then they have to start all over again. So when all these three things work, you are healthy, you've got enough money, and you're secure in the finances side, and you've got money working for you rather than you working for the money, and your relationships are solid, they have they have respect, they have communication, and they have got trust as the foundation for the relationship, then the relationship works. If it doesn't have respect, trust, and communication, then it's an unstable thing and it's going to collapse. It's a matter of time. So then what happens if something like that, any one of those three, or sometimes all three of them give way and they break, then you have a Lifequake. So your identity is shattered. So the next thing that happens is the status quo is destroyed. The next thing that happens is the shaking. That's the Lifequake. That you now have lost your identity, but you still don't know. You go numb and you don't know what's happening around you. It's like that limbo feeling where you nothing is the same again anymore, and you have no idea how to go forward with this. That's the shaking. And then the falling starts. That is really when you descend. You go into lower levels of consciousness, where you live in, the things that are escalating in your life is fear and grief and apathy and shame and guilt, and all those things just compound in on you. That's the falling part. And then at the end of the day, you end up landing at the bottom. That's where you switch off totally. Your nervous system has gone offline, and find yourself at the bottom of this curve of existence, the cycle of life. Why I put Narcotra as the number 5, that is that place in consciousness which is dense and it's hard and life is difficult, life is against you, that's your perception. It's a tragedy, life is a tragedy, it's frightening, it's hopeless, it's evil, all those experiences, the way you see life then, and the regret and the despair and despondency, all those things come together just by saying those words. It's like, it gets quite heavy. And also that is the kind of place where your predators hang out. In life they call them narcissists. A good example is dating sites. Imagine you go onto a dating, you just lost everything, or you've broken a relationship, and you go onto a dating site. The moment someone sees you going on there, they know you are needy. In other words, you want to create a relationship with someone. So then they will come, and the narcissist, what they will do is they create a fantasy for you, and you buy into this fantasy because you're weak and unstable. Your emotions are all over the place. You have no direction, nothing happens, and someone comes along and paints this wonderful picture of a life that's possible for you and that they will help you to create. And then you buy into this, and then it doesn't take long before you actually realize that you are in a narcissistic relationship. That happens to so many people. That happens to them when they've lost everything, for instance, and then they start looking for a job, and someone will give you a job. They'll tell you, like, for instance, this is a favorite thing, you can write your own checks. But it's not really true. If you go and look at all the business parts, if you do your due diligence properly, you'll see it's not so simple. It's not really going to work. But of course you're desperate and so on, so they take the job, and then I just call it economic abuse. You suffer from that, where you work very hard, people don't pay you, you suffer misfortune after misfortune when you're sitting in that lower level. But then something happens, and you realize that there must be a better way. Now, there's 3 forces at play here. The first force is the no force. The force that says, no, it can't happen. It's not going to happen. And the second force says, yes, we can do this. So these 2 forces cancel each other out, and so nothing happens. You just stay down there. You need a third force, the third force that will pull you up and will lift your head up so that you can get a new vision, take back your life, and start a new version of your life, become a new version of yourself, the version that you would like to have, or the version of you that you would desire if everything was fine. Okay, the thing is not to try and go back to the way it was, because now you have a brilliant opportunity to recreate yourself, or to create yourself as anything. You can determine what's going to happen next, and with the right help, you can do that properly. That's the wake up part. The wake up part is then, to say, yes, there's a possibility, and yes, we can go. The get up part is where the third force then activates and pulls you out of that quagmire that you were in there, the swamp of misery that you were stuck in. And then the getting up part is where you regain your visions, lifting your head in a spiritual way, and understanding, that there's much more to life than what you had anyway in the first place. Because one of the big things that you have there is disillusionment. You had this illusion that life is awesome and it will remain that way, and then doesn't, and you have this disillusionment, which is actually a brilliant thing, because being disillusioned is being stripped of a illusion. There's also an interesting word, apocalypse. Apocalypse means the lifting of the veil. That's what it really means. It doesn't mean the end of the earth. Apocalypse means the lifting of the veil, seeing of the truth. So that's the get up part. That's where you then begin to reconstruct your life, and we go and we look at everything that you're good at, everything that you can acknowledge yourself for. How can you lift your spirit? How can you stir your spirit so that you can gain a new vision? Because down in the 5 and 6, 4 and 5, you don't have any vision, because when you feel guilty and ashamed, and you're stuck in apathy where you have no energy, then you have no vision, and it's shameful, and it is despondent, and people abdicate there. But now you've got the vision, you've got the third force running, and you begin to get up. You say, okay, fine, what can I do? Who do I need to be in order to create myself again? And that is the brilliant thing of many successful people, and highly successful people. They all come from the bottom. They all ended up there. Maybe alcoholism, lost everything, went bankrupt so many times, or whatever, but they reinvent themselves every time. And the reinvention is possible because they have a vision. They still want to do that thing that they want to do and be the person that they imagine themselves to be. And imagination is a very strong component of this. So the get up part is then, looking at yourself and at your life and what is possible for you, not what was. We've looked at that now. We've done that. It's finished now. Now is the time to stop it and to get up and to see, okay, now where we want to go. And I like Steve Addison and Steve Chandler's phrase that they use. Given all this that happened, what do you want to create next? Because this is an act of creation. This is not an act of regurgitation. It's not an act of recreation of what you had before. It's an act of new creation. Okay? It's also, I got the picture once of the phoenix. The phoenix rising from the ashes. You're not rising from the ashes. You're stepping out of the ashes and creating something brand new for yourself with a sharp and a vivid vision. Then we start the work. Then the work is there. There's a lot of work there in the get up, and it's amazing. The 3, 6, and 9 comes in there quite a lot. If you know about Tesla's work, 3, 6, and 9 is very important there. We use that quite a lot, and to create a vision. And what happens there, so I call it imagineer. You start imagineering your future, and from a vision, you have this image, and you begin to imagineer a life for yourself. Now there's 2 parts to this. There's something that you do and something that you don't do. In the Byron Katie talks about, there's your business and God's business. There's what you do and what that serendipity, what spirit is working, everything that's working together to get you going in this to have you to manifest this new future, because it really is that's the secret of manifestation, is to have that vision and all the things that you need to put in there. I'm not going to go into much detail because that will be another hour one. And then the stay up part. The stay up part is about resilience. Resilience is about keeping your vision and not looking at rocks in the road all the time, looking from obstacle to obstacle and going with this mythological idea. You succeed failure by failure. You succeed because you're successful in something. If you're successful, then you've succeeded. Yes, there's problems, but the problem is not the object of what you're doing. You are looking for the vision. So you stay up, you hang in there, you do this thing, and rinse and repeat continuously until you experience the prospering. The prospering is really, that's where you start, actually. You start with a prosper. What is your life like when you're already prospering? And then we take it back. You connect the dots backwards, and then you use those dots as stepping stones to get yourself back into your inspired vision. So the question is, where are you? Where are you sitting? Are you still a status quo? Everything is fine, working okay? Then that's cool. Have you done the shaking? Are you falling? Are you landing? Are you sitting in Alcatraz? Are you there's something stirring in you? That's the process of waking up. Or have you gotten up already? Have you taken the step to create this your life 2.0? Because 1 point, you don't want to create 1.1, 1.4, 1 point is still number 1, which was based on having your health, wealth, relationship define you, giving you an identity. We turn it around and look at your identity. Without an identity that is described by what is around you, but describe your identity from who you are. Okay? Because identities are always made up. Personalities are made up. Believe me, it was something hard to learn that personality is something we make up in order to fit into society. So you can change your personality. You can do that. It's, there's a process. And Steve Chandler's got a brilliant book, Reinventing Yourself, that you decide who you're going to be, and you can be that person, and then you can prosper. So this is the short version of this thing. Let me just stop there. There you go. So yeah, that is the short version. And I encourage you to look where you are, and really look at your life, and this is really working. Which foundation is wobbly? Which foundations are solid? If you have in relationships, when you start taking back your life, you need to do a relationship audit. See who is in your corner and for you, because there can be someone in your corner but not for you. That is a reality in life, unfortunately. And sometimes we think that someone in our corner will naturally be for us, and it's not necessarily so. Those will be the people who discourage you. You want to do something and they just continuously discourage you. That happens, so one needs to be aware and awake and understand which are relationships that you can carry on and which ones you actually have to disconnect from. It's sometimes hard, but it's required. My hope for you is to get some information from this and to see where you are and to decide for yourself, I want to make this next step. And there are many people who are doing this, and it's awesome to see. So, yeah, where are you? The longer version is in the comments downstairs, in the comments, if you want to have a bigger explanation with more detail. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.